So it's all to play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Villains, and welcome to For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast. I'm finally getting out of my funk with whatever illness or plague has taken me over the last 2 weeks. I just said I'd pop on today because I was feeling good, I suppose, really. Said I'd pop on and talk to you guys about a bit of an interesting day, I suppose, that Aston Villa have put down. First of all, we were linked to a young player, Matthias Lambourd, from Stade Rennes. And a very young player, 18-year-old player. I've taken a look at him, trying to formulate an opinion on him as such. And I've been speaking to somebody who does know an awful lot about French football and French youth football scouting to see what their take is. And I think I'll probably do a small little piece on him in the coming days, or maybe even later on today once I get if I get a blast of energy again. But Matthias Lambourd, somebody who has been linked to us. And the reason I'm bringing that up when the title of this podcast is not about that player is that we've also been linked to somebody who Monchis is very, very familiar with, and that's Antonio Fernández Marchán. And the reason that I mentioned the youth player previously is that we've been linked with this person in the Spanish newspapers, or by a Spanish journalist, should I say, from Sevilla. And let me just share that tweet first so that we know what we're talking about. And that Spanish journalist is Máximo de la Cruz Ramirez, and he says that Antonio Fernández Marchán has not travelled to Sevilla. Whoever was in Monchis sports management team has not signed anything with the Nervion entity. Right now, he's in negotiations with Aston Villa. And the reason that I spoke about a youth player there previously was that in his term, Antonio Fernández Marchán has been at Sevilla twice. He was at Sevilla in the early 2000s, between 2000 and 2006, and he was there also from 2021 to present as well. And during those periods of time, he was tasked with an international setting up an international youth scouting network for young players and bringing them to Sevilla. Another interesting piece that I found out about him as well is this article that was on our press release that was made by Sevilla on the 5th to the 10th, 2021, when he did return back to the club. And that is that Antonio Fernández Marchán, who was the technical secretary of Sevilla AFC, technical secretary is the technical director. This is just the translation from this. So he was the technical director of Sevilla at the start of the 21st century, returns to Sevilla to join the sporting management team led by Monchis. Fernández Marchán comes in for his second spell at the club to lead the international youth development recruitment. Now, whether he comes to Aston Villa or not is still up in the air, but potentially this is an area that he's going to come in. It was the most recent role that he held with Monchis, so it stands to reason that Monchis wants to bring him back to head up an international youth talent scouting network as well. Because as this article even says here, that it is fundamental currently within football. You know, you get players before they become stars, then PSR becomes a different beast. Brighton do it, Brentford do it, Chelsea are trying to do it en masse at the moment. Lots of teams in the continent do it. Porto are almost 100% funded by selling. Porto and Benfica are almost 100% funded by scouting players, young Portuguese players, Portuguese-speaking players, maybe in Brazil or Spanish-speaking players in Argentina, bringing them over to Portugal, should I say, and coaching them up and selling them on for mega bucks. So it's a real market, you know. And if Aston Villa can get their hands on some of those young players, well, maybe this is the guy to do it, because you can see here this mentions his career path as well. Antonio Fernández Marchán has a successful career path behind him that started at Sevilla together with Monchis, where he was from 2000 to 2006. Afterwards, he developed his career as a technical director for Valencia, as well as a sporting director at Jerez and Malaga as well. And he also worked as an analyst and talent scout at the Spanish Football Federation, which won the 2010 World Cup in South Africa. So, you know, he's got a bit of a CV behind him, and he knows what he's doing. He's got a long history in football as well. But I suppose one thing is having a long history, but what has he actually done with it, I suppose, is the next question. So a cursory look at his Wikipedia page is something that I don't usually do, but I will, in this instance, share up his Wikipedia page because you can cross-reference. I have cross-referenced this with Transfer Market as well to verify this. But when we look at what this guy has done, so this guy was really, really good in the South American market. He was fantastic there and really built a real strong base with Sevilla in the early 2000s by scouting that South American market and making players stick. You take a look at his Wikipedia page here. Forged a reputation for personally discovering Dani Alves. What do Villa need? Villa need a right back at the moment. Maybe not of the character of Dani Alves, but as the player type of Dani Alves would be absolutely sensational as well. Then after Monchi was then soon after that, Monchi appointed him as the technical director of the club. And during that time, then he oversaw the signing of players such as Julio Baptista. People will remember him about his time at Arsenal, but his time at Sevilla was absolutely fantastic. Renato as well, Adriano and Luis Fabiano, all really, really good players within the Spanish league that came in, contributed, and were really successful signings for Sevilla during that period of time. Then he moved on to Jerez, which wasn't a whole lot to talk about there, but he gets the job then at Valencia because of his good work at Sevilla, and he got that technical director role again. And during that time, he oversaw the signings of Edric Maduro, Manuel Fernandez, and the big one for me is Ever Banega. If Aston Villa, if this guy was to come in here and get us an Ever Banega clone to play in our midfield, well, then his signing will be 1,000,000% worth it, because an Ever Banega type would be absolutely superb in this Aston Villa team. And maybe that's what he will be tasked with doing. But on the back of that, then he moves in with the Spanish national team under Fernando Hierro, and then subsequently under Vicente del Bosque. And he was an analyst and scout there, and he tracked top players that could be called up to the Spanish team and suggested those players that would be called up to the Spanish team. And during that period of time, they won the World Cup in 2010 as well. So, pretty successful career arc. Even with Malaga here, the Malaga experience of 2010, 11, 12 was a wild experience, I think, to say the least, under their very rich benefactor, whose name I'm not going to try and say there, but the rich sheik that owned Malaga at the time. They qualified for the Champions League group stages for the first time in the club's history during that period of time as well. He was also responsible for, at Malaga, he was responsible for the signings of people like, he brought Santi Cazorla in from Villarreal. He signed Isco as a 19 or 20-year-old, I think. He was able to bring in the likes of Diego Buenate as well, who never really went on to do a whole pile, but he was a really highly thought of attacking midfielder from River Plate. There was a couple of other players there that he was able to bring into that Malaga team and to mix them with the players that were there currently at the club, and they got a very, very good modicum of success there by qualifying for the Champions League at that period of time. So as a scout, as a talent evaluator, he is somebody that has a lot of pedigree. Whether it will be in the senior market that we're looking at, as in the fully fledged player, or it would be the youth market that he'll be looking at, should I say, that will be remain to be seen, I suppose, as more and more news comes out about him, whether he does actually sign for Aston Villa. I'm sure we will know what his role would be within the club. But Monchi likes to bring in guys he knows. The last role that he gave him was to do with setting up an international scouting network. It's the smart thing to do in the FFP, and the PSR times that we live in. I would be blown away if this guy wasn't the man to maybe set up that or be a consultant within that role, specializing maybe within the South American market and the Spanish market, given his expertise there. But the big thing that I would say here with regards to this also is that Aston Villa have 100% handed over the reins to Unai Emery and to Monchi, and I'm all here for that, because they're the trust that they've put in them is just fantastic, you know, and they deserve our trust because of the massive amounts of work that they've done over the last 18 months with the club. Like, for instance, let's take a little look at Aston Villa's backroom team here from Training Ground Guru. Just take a little look at Aston Villa's backroom team here. So what we can see is in the last 18 months, Monchis has obviously come in. Demi Vidigani has also come in. Paco has come in with Unai Emery. Pablo Villanueva has come in as first team coach. Francesco Javier Garcia has come in. Antonio Rodriguez Savara has come in as well. Aston McPhee has always been here. The fitness coach has changed. Moise De Hoyo. We scroll down here as well. The head of medical services has come in, and Arnaldo Abrantes, albeit that he didn't work with Unai Emery before, but he has joined the club. So there's still a root and branch change, even in the medical department as well. At the moment, video analysis has become something that's brilliant. Victor Mañas there is. This mentions here he's Emery's second pair of eyes. He's a real trusted lieutenant for him, and he's somebody that's come in as well. And then when you talk about maybe bringing this guy Antonio Fernández Marchán as well, it really gets this kind of brain trust feel about it. You know, the specialization of roles. You know, video data and analysis. Even here with Victor Mañas, he's got a specialized role as well. Obviously, the head of medical services is a specialized role. You know, fitness coaches and all that. But you know, becoming a proper grown-up club will involve having lots and lots of experience around there and lots of people who know what they're doing. And I think it's fair to say that by bringing Monchi and Unai Emery in here, and in some ways, them getting the band back together may not be the worst thing that could happen. When we take into account the fact that, you know, there's a synergy there that they've built up over the years, and they know what each person is good at, and it allows it to run smoothly behind the scenes. Now, conversely as well, do they become a bit of a coven to become maybe a group of yes men to each other, all patting each other in the back? There is always a chance that that may happen, but it hasn't happened in the past with these guys. And at Sevilla, they had really good success, and they knew when to bow out when they had success. Well, this guy did anyway, Antonio Fernández Marchán. And Monchi trusts him, and Unai Emery trusts him. And I think that trust is one of the biggest things that you can have in the backroom team at the moment. And that's a beautiful thing, you know, to be able to bring it in and to be able to use your networks to set up a structure within the club. And it just goes to show how much of almost a free reign Unai and Monchi have been given within this club. And if they continue to get the results that they have in this current last year that we've just gone through, well then I'm here for it every single day of the week. So look, an interesting piece of news with regards to Antonio Fernández Marchán. And whether it comes off or not, I don't know. Could be wildly off the mark with regards to what his role within the club will be. But we'll keep an eye out for this. And if anything does break, I suppose we'll try and come back with it for more. And we'll see if we can get any other experts that know more about this guy, what his role was, what he was taught, how he was thought of within the halls of Sevilla. And we'll see if we can get those guys on. But I hope you've enjoyed this. And if you have, please give it a thumbs up. Please like the podcast. Please follow us over on Twitter as well. We're going to be doing a small bit more on Twitter over the off season as well. But appreciate all your time if you have watched this. And in the meantime, stay safe, stay healthy, and all that's left to say is up the Villa.